Hello. Hi, Harry Potter addict. Hey, Lene. Mark's in the chat. Hey, Dexter, say hi. Hello. Hi, Lene. Yep, Scar's there. The Scar is there. Hey, Travis. Haven't seen you in ages. Rebecca Funk. Timmermans. Hello, hello, hello. Millie. Kaylin. We're here. We're collected. All right. Enough of this violent music. Put on some... I found some Harry Potter inspired subtle music. Let's see if this is any better. I'm trying to find the right thing to play underneath. The book is backwards because the screen... Okay, Lyndon. Yes, I'm going to do a Q&A at the end. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to an hour of Harry Potter that I was noticing yesterday goes surprisingly fast for me. I'm like, oh, it's already 45 minutes past. I'm here. Dexter's here. Mark is here, my trusted advisor and Harry Potter master.
Oh, God,
oh, that's maybe a bit weird to say. So I'm reading an hour of Harry Potter for you to get some relaxation and some laughs in your day. I've never read the books. I have only seen 2 or 3 movies. I don't remember anything from them. I read all the comments afterwards. I can't read them and read this at the same time. Please, no spoilers, and that means also no hints about what might be coming. And also, keep it PG for the kids that are going to read along, but have some subtle fun if you want to. I'm going to have a Q&A at the end, and for any of those of you who have tuned in here and haven't seen any episodes or are new, they're all on YouTube, so you can catch up, go into my account, John Voth, and they're all there. Okay, so one thing before I start is today or tomorrow I will be sorting myself into a house, whatever that means. And I will let you know tomorrow what I am. So we'll see. Till now, I'm loving this book a lot. So we have just been at the section where Ron, Hermione, and Harry have been creeping through the halls, trying to meet up for a duel with Malfoy, and Malfoy has betrayed them to Peeves. No. Yeah, Peeves? Peeves, I think. Anyway, he tried to rat him out so they get kicked out. It's Halloween. They didn't get caught. They showed up. Malfoy was surprised, and an owl just came in and dropped off some packages. Okay, here we go. And turn a little bit quieter, and here we go. As the owls flooded into the great hall as usual, everyone's attention was caught at once by a long, thin package carried by 6 large screech owls. Harry was just as interested as everyone else to see what was in this large parcel, and was amazed when the owl soared down and dropped it right in front of him, knocking his bacon to the floor. What a waste. They had hardly fluttered out of the way when another owl dropped a letter on top of the parcel. Harry ripped open the letter first, which was lucky because it said, "Do not open the parcel at the table. It contains your new Nimbus 2000, but I don't want everybody knowing you've got a broomstick, or they'll all want one. Oliver Wood will meet you tonight on the Quidditch pitch at 7 o'clock for your first training session. Professor M. McGonagall." Oh, okay, nice. Wow, she's stern, but she's pitching for him. That's cool. Hello, Kendra. Harry had difficulty hiding his glee as he handed the note to Ron to read. "A Nimbus 2000? Ron moaned enviously. "I've never even touched one." They left the hall quickly, wanting to unwrap the broomstick in private before their first lesson. But halfway across the entrance hall, they found the way upstairs barred by Crabbe and Goyelle. Malfoy seized the package from Harry and felt it. "That's a broomstick," he said, throwing it back to Harry with a mixture of jealousy and spite on his face. You'll be for it this time?" What? Maybe there's been a little something that wasn't written right. You'll be for it this time, Potter. First years aren't allowed them. Ron couldn't resist. It's not any old broomstick, he said. It's a Nimbus 2000. What did you say you've got at home, Malfoy? A Comet 260? Ron grinned at Harry. Comets look flashy, but they're not in the same league as the Nimbus. What would you know about it? Wait, what would you know about it? What would you know about it, Weasley? You couldn't afford half the handle, Malfoy snapped back. I suppose you and your brothers have to save up twig by twig. Before Ron could answer, Professor Flitwick appeared at Malfoy's elbow. Okay, I don't know Professor Flitwick. Who is this guy again? Give me some adjectives for this Professor Flitwick so I can find a good voice for this guy. Or I'm guessing it's a guy. Yeah, it is. What would you say?
He was the class that McGonagall went into to take
right.
the guy out to meet Harry.
He squeaked. Oh, he's a squeaker. Okay. Not arguing, I hope, boys? He squeaked. Potter's been sent a broomstick, Professor, said Malfoy quickly. Yes, that's right, said Professor Flitwick, beaming at Harry. Professor McGonagall told me all about the special circumstances, Potter. And what model is it? A Nimbus 2000, sir, said Harry, fighting not to laugh at the look of horror on Malfoy's face. And it's really thanks to Malfoy here that I've got it, he added. Perfect. A dwarf elf. Good guy. Okay. High voice. Dwarf. Okay, that's helpful. Harry and Ron headed upstairs, smothering their laughter at Malfoy's obvious rage and confusion. Well, it's true, Harry chortled as they reached the top of the marble staircase. If he hadn't stolen Neville's Remembrall, I wouldn't be on the team. Angry voice behind them. Hermione, okay. So I suppose you think that's a reward for breaking rules? Came an angry voice from just behind them. Hermione was stomping up the stairs, looking disapprovingly at the package in Harry's hand. I thought you weren't speaking to us, said Harry. Yes, don't stop now, said Ron. It's doing us so much good. Hermione marched away with her nose in the air. Harry had a lot of trouble keeping his mind on his lesson that day. It kept wandering up to the dormitory where his new broomstick was lying under his bed, or straying off to the Quidditch pitch where he'd be learning to play that night. He bolted his dinner that evening without noticing what he was eating, and when he rushed upstairs with Ron to unwrap the Nimbus 2000 at last. Wow, Ron sighed as the broomstick rolled onto Harry's bed. Even Harry, who knew nothing about the different brooms, thought it looked wonderful. Sleek and shiny, with a mahogany handle. It had a long tail of neat, straight twigs, and Nimbus 2000 written in gold near the top. That'd be pretty sweet to have. Hey, Ken. Hi, Graham. Hi, Stalcy. Hufflepuff. Oh, Hufflepuff 2201. Yeah. All right. As 7 o'clock drew nearer, Harry left the castle and set off towards the Quidditch pitch in the dusk. He'd never been inside the stadium before. Hundreds of seats were raised in stands around the pitch so that the spectators were high enough to see what was going on. At either end of the pitch were 3 golden poles with hoops on the end. They reminded Harry of the little plastic sticks Muggle children blew bubbles through, except they were 50 feet high. Too eager to fly again to wait for wood. Okay. Harry mounted his broomstick and kicked off from the ground. What a feeling. He swooped in and out of the goalposts and then sped up and down the pitch. The Nimbus 2000 turned wherever he wanted at his slightest touch. Okay, Oliver Wood. That was that cool jock guy, right? Yeah, okay. Hey, Potter, come down. Oliver Wood had arrived. He was carrying a large wooden crate under his arm. Harry landed next to him. Very nice, said Wood, his eyes glinting. I see what McGonagall meant. You really are a natural. I'm just going to teach you the rules this evening. Then you'll be joining team practice 3 times a week. He opened the crate. How's that going? The Nimbus is a sweet ride. It is indeed. He opened the crate. Inside were 4 different sized balls. Right, said Wood. Now, Quidditch is easy enough to understand, even if it's not easy to play. There are 7 players on each side. 3 of them are called chasers. 3 chasers, Harry repeated, as Wood took out a bright red ball about the size of a football. This ball's called the quaffle, said Wood. The chasers throw the quaffle? 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 Oh, he's Scottish. He's Scottish. Okay. Okay. Is it quaffle? Is it quaffle? A beautiful Scotland. 3 chasers. Oh, that's McGonagall. Okay. This ball's called the quaffle, said Wood. The chasers throw the quaffle to each other and try to get it through one of the hoops to score a goal. 10 points every time the quaffle goes through one of the hoops. Follow me. The chasers throw the quaffle and put it through the hoops to score, Harry recited. So that's sort of like basketball on broomsticks with 6 hoops, isn't it? What's basketball? Said Wood curiously. Never mind, said Harry quickly. Now, there's another player on each side who's called the keeper. I'm keeper for Gryffindor. I have to fly around our hoops and stop the other team from scoring. 3 chasers, 1 keeper, said Harry, who was determined to remember it all. And they play with the quaffle. Okay, got that. So, what are they for? He pointed at the 3 balls left inside the box. I'll show you now, said Wood. Take this. He handed Harry a small club, a bit like a rounder's bat. Now, is Wood also, is he suave? Is he like, hey, I know what, yeah. Is he that kind of guy?
Just, yeah, very confident.
Okay, that works. Okay, it works, Millie. Thanks. I'm going to show you what bludgers do, Wood said. These 2 are the bludgers. Bludgers. He showed Harry 2 identical balls, jet black and slightly smaller than the red quaffle. Harry noticed that they seemed to be straining to escape the straps holding them inside the box. Box wine. Stand back, Wood warned Harry. He bent down and freed one of the bludgers. At once, the black ball rose high in the air and then pelted straight at Harry's face. Harry swung at it with a bat to stop it breaking his nose and sent it zigzagging away to the air. It zoomed around their heads and then shot at Wood, who dived on top of it and managed to pin it to the ground. See? Wood panted, forcing the struggling bludger back into the crate and strapping it down safely. The bludgers rocket around, trying to knock players off their brooms. That's why you have 2 beaters on each team. The Weasley twins are ours. It's their job to protect their side from the bludgers and try and knock them towards the other team. So, think you've got all that? 3 chases try and score with the quaffle. The keeper guards the goalposts. The beaters keep the bludgers away from their team. Harry reeled off. Very good, said Wood. Have the bludgers ever killed anyone? Harry asked, hoping he sounded offhand. Never at Hogwarts. We had a couple of broken jaws, but nothing worse than that. Now, the last member of the team is the Seeker. That's you. And you don't have to worry about the quaffle or the bludgers. Unless they crack my head open, don't worry. The Weasleys are more than a match for the bludgers. I mean, they're like a pair of human bludgers themselves. Wood reached into the crate and took out the 4th and last ball. Compared with the quaffle and the bludgers, it was it was tiny, about the size of a large walnut. Wait, okay. So there's one more ball. I'm trying to understand here. Okay. Because I'm trying to read and do the accents. I'm not fully getting it. Okay. Yeah. So this the bludger. That's the small ball. No, the quaffle is the small ball.
No.
The bludger is.
The bludger is there are two.
Yeah.
But they move around on their own, trying to bump people off.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
The quaffle is a stable ball that people toss back and forth to each other.
Yeah.
And they've got to try to get it through the rings. Right?
The quaffle.
Yeah. And
okay.
then the last ball the name hasn't come up.
It hasn't been revealed yet. Okay.
He's looking at it.
Wood reached into the crate and took out the 4th and last ball. Compared with the quaffle, I guess I'll call it that now, and the bludgers, it was tiny, about the size of a large walnut. It was bright gold and had fluttering silver wings. This, said Wood, is the golden snitch, and it's the most important ball of the lot. It's very hard to catch because it's so fast and difficult to see. It's a seeker's job to catch it. You've got to weave in and out of the chasers, beaters, bludgers, and quaffle to get it before the other team's seeker. Because whichever seeker catches the snitch wins his team an extra 150 points. So they nearly always win. That's why seekers get fouled so much. A game of Quidditch only ends when the snitch is caught. so it can go on for ages. I think the record is 3 months. They had to keep bringing on substitutes so the players could get some sleep. Well, that's it. Any questions? Harry shook his head. He understood what he had to do all right. It was doing it that was going to be the problem. We won't practice with the snitch yet, said Wood, carefully, shutting it back inside the crate. It's too dark. We might lose it. Let's try you out for a few of these. 7 players, 1 seeker, 2 beaters, 3 chasers, and 1 keeper. Nice summary, thank you. He pulled a bag of ordinary golf balls out of his pocket, and a few minutes later, he and Harry were up in the air, Wood throwing the golf balls as hard as he could in every direction for Harry to catch. Harry didn't miss a single one, and Wood was delighted. After an hour, night had really fallen, and they couldn't carry on. Who said this? Wood. Okay. That Quidditch Cup will have our name on it this year, said Wood happily as they trudged back up the castle. I wouldn't be surprised if you turn out better than Charlie Weasley. And he could have played for England if he hadn't gone off chasing dragons. Perhaps it was because he was now so busy, what with Quidditch practice... Okay, there's a little break here. I'm wondering if this book is a bit... not denser. It's not dense at all. I mean, more explaining, setting everything up than the other books. Because there's a lot of, okay, here are the rules, here are the environments, here's what's happening. And I'm wondering if the other books, of course they'll go to new places and new things will happen. But I'm wondering if that's just a whole bunch of this in the book. Perhaps it was because he was now so busy, what with Quidditch practice 3 evenings a week on top of all of his homework. But Harry could hardly believe it when he realized that he'd already been home at Hogwarts 2 months. The castle felt more like home than Privet Drive had ever done. His lessons, too, were becoming more and more interesting now that they had mastered the basics. On Halloween morning, they woke to the delicious smell of baking pumpkin wafting through the corridors. Even better, Professor Flitwick announced in charms that he thought they were ready to start making objects fly. Something they had all been dying to try since they'd seen him make Neville's toad zoom around the classroom. Oh gosh, Neville. Professor Flitwick put the class into pairs to practice. Harry's partner was Seamus Finnegan, which was a relief, because Neville had been trying to catch his eye. Ron, however, was to be working with Hermione Granger. It was hard to tell whether Ron or Hermione was angrier about this. She hadn't spoken to either of them since the day Harry's broomstick had arrived.
Now, don't forget that nice wrist movement we've been practicing,
squeaked Professor Flitwick, perched on top of his pile of books as usual.
Swish and flick. Remember, swish and flick. And saying the magic words properly is very important too. Never forget Wizard Barufio, who said S instead of F, and found himself on the floor with a buffalo on his chest.
It was very difficult. Harry and Seamus swished and flicked, but the feather they were supposed to be sending skywards just lay on the desktop. Seamus got so impatient that he prodded it with his wand and set fire to it. Harry had to put it out with his hat. Ron, at the next table, wasn't having much more luck. "Wingardium Leviosa!" he shouted, waving his long arms like a windmill.
You're saying it wrong, Harry heard Hermione snap. It's Wingardium Leviosa. Make the ga nice and long.
You do it then, if you're so clever, Ron snarled. Hermione rolled up the sleeve of her gown, flicked her wand, and said,
Wingardium Leviosa!
Their feather rose off the desk and hovered about 4 feet above their heads.
Oh, well done,
cried Professor Flitwick, clapping.
Everyone, see here. Miss Granger's done it.
Ron was in a very bad temper by the end of the class. It's no wonder no one can stand her, he said to Harry, as they pushed their way into the crowded corridor. She's a nightmare, honestly. Someone knocked into Harry as they hurried past him. It was Hermione. Harry caught a glimpse of her face and was startled to see that she was in tears. I think she heard you. So, said Ron, but he looked a bit uncomfortable. She must have noticed she's got no friends. Hermione didn't turn up for the next class and wasn't seen all afternoon. Poor Hermione. On their way down to the Great Hall for the Halloween feast, Harry and Ron overheard Parvati Patil. Okay, somebody told me that this person's not Italian, but Indian. Okay? Parvati Patil telling her... okay, I just thought it might... Patil made... This sounded like Italian to me. Telling her friend Lavender... Lavender? That's a great name. Lavender. I bet she smells nice. That Hermione was crying in the girls' toilets and wanted to be left alone. Ron looked still more awkward at this, but a moment later they had entered the great hall, where the Halloween decorations put Hermione out of their minds. 1,000 live bats fluttered from the walls and ceiling, while 1,000 more swooped over the tables in low black clouds, making the candles and the pumpkins stutter. The feast appeared suddenly on the golden plates, as it had at the start of term banquet. Harry was just helping himself to a jacket potato when Professor Quirrell came sprinting into the hall, his turban askew and terror on his face. Everyone stared as he reached Professor Dumbledore's chair, slumped against the table and gasped, "Troll in the dungeons, thought you ought to know." He then sank to the floor in a dead faint. There was uproar. It took several purple firecrackers exploding from the end of Professor Dumbledore's wand to bring silence. Firecrackers, eh? "Prefects," he mumbled, "lead your houses back to the dormitories immediately." Somebody said his voice should not be that low, but should be more whispery. So I'll play around with it. Oh, I think somebody just spoiled something by writing troll. Thank you very much. Don't spoil it, please. Okay. Percy was in his element. Percy. "Follow me. Stick together, first years. No need to fear the troll if you follow my orders. Stay close behind me now. Make way. First years coming through. Excuse me. I'm a prefect." How could a troll get in? Harry asked as they climbed the stairs. "Don't ask me. They're supposed to be really stupid," said Ron. "Maybe Peeves let it in for a Halloween joke." They passed different groups of people hurrying in different directions. As they jostled their way through a crowd of confused Hufflepuffs, Harry suddenly grabbed Ron's arm. "I've just thought. Hermione. What about her? She doesn't know about the troll." Ron bit his lip. "Oh, all right," he snapped. "But Percy better not see us." Ducking down, they joined the Hufflepuffs going the other way, slipped down a deserted side corridor, and hurried off towards the girls' toilets. They'd just turned the corner when they heard quick footsteps behind them. "Percy!" hissed Ron, pulling Harry behind a large stone griffin. And then they kissed. It just felt like a scene out of a spy movie. You know, these footsteps, it's usually like a scene where they go behind like a core of like making out so that the guards don't know that they're actually the people they're following. All right. Ducking down, they joined the Hufflepuffs going the other way, slipped down a deserted side corridor, and hurried off towards the girls' toilets. They had just turned the corner when they heard quick footsteps behind them. Oh wait, we just did this. Okay, behind a large stone griffin. Peering around it, however, they saw not Percy, but Snape. He crossed the corridor and disappeared from view. "What's he doing?" Harry whispered. "Why isn't he down in the dungeons with the rest of the teachers?" "Search me." Quietly as possible, they crept along the next corridor after Snape's fading footsteps. "He's heading for the 3rd floor," Harry said, but Ron held up his hand. "Can you smell something?" Harry sniffed, and a foul stench reached his nostrils, a mixture of old socks and the kind of public toilet no one seems to clean. Great descriptions. Oh my gosh, he's so good. I love rowling. And then they heard it, a low grunting and the shuffling footfalls of gigantic feet. Ron pointed. At the end of a passage to the left, something huge was moving towards them. They shrank into the shadows and watched as it emerged into a patch of moonlight. It was a horrible sight. 12 feet tall. Its skin was a dull granite gray. Its great, lumpy body like a boulder, with its small, bald head perched on top like a coconut. It had short legs, thick as tree trunks, with flat, horny feet. The smell coming from it was incredible. It was holding a huge wooden club, which dragged along the floor because its arms were so long. The troll stopped next to a doorway and peered inside. It waggled its long ears, making up its tiny mind. Making up its tiny mind. Oh man, this troll is dumb. Then slouched slowly into the room. The key's in the lock, Harry muttered. We could lock it in. Good idea, said Ron nervously. They edged towards the open door, mouths dry, praying the troll wasn't about to come out of it. With one great leap, Harry managed to grab the keys, slam the door, and lock it. Yes! Flushed with their victory, they started to run back up the passage. But as they reached the corner, they heard something that made their hearts stop. A high, petrified scream, and it was coming from the chamber they'd just chained up. Oh no, said Ron, pale as the bloody baron. It's the girls' toilets, Harry gasped. Hermione, they said together. It was the last thing they wanted to do, but what choice did they have? Wheeling around, they sprinted back to the door and turned the key, fumbling in their panic. Harry pulled the door open. They ran inside. Hermione Granger was shrinking against the wall opposite, looking as if she was about to faint. The troll was advancing on her, knocking the sinks off the wall as it went. Confuse it, Harry said desperately to Ron, and seizing a tap, he threw it as hard as he could against the wall. The troll stopped a few feet from Hermione. It lumbered around, blinking stupidly to see what had made the noise. Its mean little eyes saw Harry. It hesitated, then made for him instead, lifting its club as it went. Oi, pea-brain! Yelled Ron from the other side of the chamber and threw a metal pipe at it. The troll didn't even seem to notice the pipe hitting its shoulder, but it heard the yell and paused again, turning its ugly snout towards Ron instead, giving Harry time to run around it. Come on, run! Run! Harry yelled at Hermione, trying to pull her towards the door, but she couldn't move. She was still flat against the wall, her mouth open with terror. The shouting and the echo seemed to be driving the troll berserk. It roared again and started towards Ron, who was nearest and had no way to escape. Harry then did something that was both very brave and very stupid. He took a great running jump and managed to fasten his arm around the troll's neck from behind. Whoa! Badass Harry! The troll couldn't feel Harry hanging there, but even a troll will notice if you stick a long bit of wood up its nose, and Harry's wand had still been in his hand when he jumped. It had gone straight up one of the troll's nostrils. Okay. Wow. Wow, okay. Howling with pain, the troll twisted and flailed its club, with Harry clinging on for dear life. Any second, the troll was going to rip him off and catch him a terrible blow with the club. Hermione had sunk to the floor in fright. Ron pulled out his own wand. Not knowing what he was going to do, he heard himself cry the first spell that came into his head. Wingardium Leviosa! Full circle. Full circle. He's gonna kick some butt. The club flew suddenly out of the troll's hand, rose high up into the air, turned slowly over, and dropped with a sickening crack onto its owner's head. The troll swayed on the spot and then fell flat on its face, with a thud that made the whole room tremble. Okay, kids getting rid of a troll. You know, no wonder this, like, for kids reading this was great. They were like, oh, we're the same age and they killed a troll. I bet we can kill our parents. When John finishes the book, he should be an interpretive dance summing it up. Maybe I will. I forgot to those magical flares that wizards would do.
Please don't.
Wingardium Leviosa! Okay, Harry got to his feet. He was shaking and out of breath. Ron was standing there with his wand still raised, staring at what he had done. Yeah, just looking at his hands. Blood on them. What have I done? It was Hermione who spoke first. Is it dead? I don't think so, said Harry. I think it's just been knocked out. He bent down and pulled his wand out of the troll's nose. It was covered in what looked like lumpy gray glue. Ugh, troll bogies! He wiped it on the troll's trousers. A sudden slamming and loud footsteps made the three of them look up. They hadn't realized what a racket they had been making, but of course, someone downstairs must have heard the crashes and the troll's roars. A moment later, Professor McGonagall had come bursting into the room, closely followed by Snape, with Quirrell bringing up the rear. Quirrell took one look at the troll, let out a faint whimper, and sat quickly down on the toilet, clutching his heart. Oh, poor Quirrell. Snape bent over the troll. Professor McGonagall was looking at Ron and Harry. Harry had never seen her look so angry. Why? Her lips were white. Hopes of winning 50 points for Gryffindor faded quickly from Harry's mind. McGonagall, okay.
What on earth were you thinking of?
Said Professor McGonagall, with cold fury in her voice. Harry looked at Ron, who was still standing with his wand in the end.
You're lucky you weren't killed. Why aren't you in your dormitory?
Snake gave Harry a swift, piercing look. Harry looked at the floor. He wished Ron would put his wand down. Then a small voice out of the shadows.
Please, Professor McGonagall, they were looking for me.
Miss Granger! Hermione had managed to get to her feet at last.
I went looking for the troll because I thought I could deal with it on my own, because I've read all about them.
Ron dropped his wand. Hermione Granger telling a downright lie to a teacher?
If they hadn't found me, I'd be dead by now. Harry stuck his wand up its nose and Ron knocked it with its own club. They didn't have time to come and fetch anyone. It was about to finish me off when they arrived.
Harry and Ron tried to look as though this story wasn't new to them.
Well, in that case, said Professor McGonagall, staring at the three of them, Miss Granger, you foolish girl. How could you think of tackling a mountain troll on your own?
Hermione hung her head. Harry was speechless. Hermione was the last person to do anything against the rules. And here she was, pretending she had, to get them out of trouble. It was as if Snape had started handing out sweets. Who's saying this?
Miss Granger, 5 points will be taken from Gryffindor for this, said Professor McGonagall. I'm very disappointed in you. If you're not hurt at all, you'd better get off to Gryffindor Tower. Students are finishing their feasts in their houses.
Hermione left. Professor McGonagall turned to Harry and Ron.
Well, I still say you were lucky, but not many first years could have taken on a full-grown mountain troll. You each win Gryffindor 5 points. Professor Dumbledore will be informed of this.
You may go. They hurried out of the chamber and didn't speak at all until they had climbed 2 floors up. It was a relief to be away from the smell of the troll, quite apart from anything else. We should have got more than 10 points, Ron grumbled.
5, you mean, once she's taken off Hermione's. Good of her to get us out of trouble like that, Ron admitted. Mind you, we did save her. She might not have needed saving if we hadn't locked the thing in with her, Harry reminded him.
They had reached the portrait of the fat lady. Pig snout, they said, and entered. The common room was packed and noisy. Everyone was eating the food that had been sent up. Hermione, however, stood alone by the door, waiting for them. There was a very embarrassed pause. Then, none of them looked at each other. They all said, "Thanks," and hurried off to get plates. But from that moment on, Hermione Granger became their friend. There are some things you can't share without ending up liking each other, and knocking out a 12-foot mountain troll is one of them. That was a great chapter. That was a really good chapter. Yeah, they had some, what I like is when there's action, but not just action for the purpose of action, but it completes some character beats or advances the story within it. And it really did that. It really connected all the friends. It showed different personalities. It showed both Ron's bravery and, Harry's bravery and Ron's, I guess, when he's thinking too hard, he can't accomplish things, but when he's pushed to the brink or has to act, he does it well and trusts himself, maybe. And Hermione, steps outside the rules when friendship is more important to her than the rules. I like this. That was a good chapter. Chapter 11, Quidditch. As they entered November, the weather turned very cold. The mountains around the school became icy gray, and the lake, like and the lake like chilled steel. Every morning the ground was covered in frost. Hagrid could be seen from the upstairs window, defrosting broomsticks on the Quidditch pitch, bundled up in a long moleskin overcoat, rabbit fur gloves, and enormous beaver skin boots. The Quidditch season had begun. On Saturday, Harry would be playing in his first match after weeks of training. Gryffindor versus Slytherin. If Gryffindor won, they would move up into second place in the House Championship. Hardly anyone had seen Harry play because Wood had decided that, as their secret weapon, Harry should be kept, well, secret. But the news that he was playing Seeker had leaked out somehow, and Harry didn't know which was worse. People telling him he'd be brilliant, or people telling him they'd be running around underneath him holding a mattress. It was really lucky that Harry now had Hermione as a friend. He didn't know how he'd have got through all his homework without her, what with all the last-minute Quidditch practice Wood was making them do. She had also lent him Quidditch Through the Ages, which turned out to be a very interesting read. Harry learned that there were 700 ways of committing a Quidditch foul, and that all of them had happened during a World Cup match in 1473. That Seekers were usually the smallest and fastest players, and that the most serious Quidditch accidents seemed to happen to them. That although people rarely died playing Quidditch, referees had been known to vanish and turn up months later in the Sahara Desert. What? Why? Why referees? That doesn't make any sense. Although the Seekers don't usually die, the referees vanish. For what reason? I know a lot of people. I'm gonna have a little side note here. I know this is a holy book to so many people, and people love Harry Potter. I'm coming from a place that like Star Wars. I didn't see Star Wars until 5 years ago for the first time. The same thing, and I was like, yeah, it's a pretty good movie. I'm enjoying this a lot, but I don't think she's a perfect author. I don't think any author is perfect, and so there's some things where I'm like, that didn't connect as well. Stuff like, what's his name, Hagrid, him saying "What's up?" and "Yeah," doesn't fit to his voice. I don't think so. I think that was a misstep. Or this, I'm like, what? It's funny, but it doesn't connect. Okay, you can pile on now if you want to. Where does take bad calls very seriously? Hermione had become a bit more relaxed about breaking rules, since Harry and Ron had saved her from the mountain troll, and she was much nicer for it. The day before Harry's first Quidditch match, the three of them were out in the freezing courtyard during break, and she had conjured them up in a bright blue fire which could be carried around in a jam jar. They were standing with their backs to it, getting warm. When Snape crossed the yard, Harry noticed at once that Snape was limping. Harry, Ron, and Hermione moved closer together to block the fire from view. They were sure it wouldn't be allowed. Unfortunately, something about their guilty faces caught Snape's eye. He limped over. Oh, he's got a limp. Okay. He hadn't seen the fire, but he seemed to be looking for a reason to tell them off. Anyway, what's that you've got there, Potter? It was Quidditch Through the Ages, Harry showed him. Library books are not to be taken outside the school, said Snape. Give it to me. 5 points from Gryffindor. He just made that rule up, Harry muttered angrily as Snoop limped away. Wonder what's wrong with his leg? Dunno, but I hope it's really hurting him, said Ron bitterly. The Gryffindor common room was very noisy that evening. Harry, Ron, and Hermione sat together next to a window. Hermione was checking Harry and Ron's charms homework for them. She would never let them copy. How will you learn? But by asking her to read it through, they got the right answers anyway. Harry felt restless. He wanted Quidditch through the ages back, to take his mind off his nerves about tomorrow. Why should he be afraid of Snape? Getting up, he told Ron and Hermione he was going to ask Snoop, if he could have it back. Rather you than me, they said together. But Harry had an idea that Snape wouldn't refuse if there were other teachers listening. He made his way down to the staff room and knocked. There was no answer. He knocked again. Nothing. Perhaps Snoop had left the books in there. It was worth a try. He pulled the door ajar and peered inside. And a horrible scene met his eyes. Snape and Filch were inside, alone. Snape was holding his robe above his knees. One of his legs was bloody and mangled. Filch was handing Snape handing Snape bandages. Okay, who's Filch again?
Creepy caretaker with the cat.
Creepy caretaker, thank you very much. Okay. Blasted thing, Snape was saying. How are you supposed to keep your eyes on all three heads at once? Harry tried to shut the door quietly, but Potter! Potter! Snape's face was twisted with fury as he dropped his robes quickly to hide his leg. Harry gulped. I just wondered if I could have my book back. Get out! Out! Harry left before Snape could take any more points from Gryffindor. He sprinted back upstairs. Did you get it? Did you get it? Ron asked as Harry joined them. What's the matter? In a low whisper, Harry told him what he'd seen. You know what this means? He finished breathlessly. He tried to get past that three-headed dog at Halloween. That's where he was going when we saw him. He's after whatever it's guarding. And I bet my broomstick he let that troll in to make a diversion. Hermione's eyes were wide. No, he wouldn't, she said. I know he's not very nice, but he wouldn't try and steal something Dumbledore was keeping safe. Honestly, Hermione, you think all teachers are saints or something, snapped Ron. I'm with Harry. I wouldn't put anything past Snape. But what's he after? What's that dog guarding? Harry went to bed with his head buzzing with the same question. Neville was snoring loudly, but Harry couldn't sleep. He tried to empty his mind. He needed to sleep. He had to, but had his first Quidditch match in a few hours. But the expression on Snape's face when Harry had seen his leg wasn't easy to forget. Thank you, Tyson. It'd be super rough. Hagrid's super rough, and it is the character is based off a Hell's Angel, I believe. Oh, awesome. He's supposed to be from the West Country of Parties with a thick accent. Okay, cool. Thanks, Tilly. The next morning dawned very bright and cold. Oh, he's snoring a little bit. Yeah. The next morning dawned very bright and cold. The great hall was full of the delicious smell of fried sausages and the cheerful chatter of everyone looking forward to a great Quidditch match. You've got to eat some breakfast. Oh wait, who's saying this? You've got to eat some breakfast. I don't want anything. Just a bit of toast, wheedled Hermione. I'm not hungry. Harry felt horrible. In an hour's time, he'd be walking onto the pitch. Harry, you need your strength. Oh, wait, Seamus. How old is Seamus? Here, is it 11 too, as well? Harry, you need your strength, said Seamus Finnegan. Seekers are always the one who get nobbled by the other team. Thanks, Seamus, said Harry, watching Seamus pile ketchup on his sausages. All right, I'm finding out what Seamus sounds like. Okay, so I'll discover it as it goes on. By 11 o'clock, the whole school seemed to be out in the stands around the Quidditch pitch. Many students had binoculars. The seats might be raised high in the air, but it was still difficult to see what was going on sometimes. Ron and Hermione joined Neville, Seamus, and Dean, the West Ham fan, up in the top row, the West Ham fan. As a surprise for Harry, they had painted a large banner on one of the sheets Scabbers had ruined. It said, Potter for President, and Dean, who was good at drawing, had done a large Gryffindor lion underneath. Then Hermione had performed a tricky little charm so that the paint flashed different colors. Meanwhile, in the changing rooms, Harry and the rest of the team were changing into their scarlet Quidditch robes while spanking each other with towels. I added that bit. It's a locker room. What people do in the locker room. Slytherin would be playing in green. Wood cleared his throat for silence. Okay, men, he said. Chaser Angelina Johnson. And women, said Chaser Angelina Johnson. And women, Wood agreed. This is it. Fred Weasley. The big one. George. The one we've all been waiting for, said George. Harry. We know Oliver's speech by heart. Fred told Harry. We were on the team last year. Shut up, you two, said Wood. This is the best team Gryffindor's had in years. We're going to win. I know it. He glared at them all as if to say, or else. Right, it's time. Good luck, all of you. Harry followed Fred and George out of the changing room and, hoping his knees weren't going to give away, walked onto the pitch to loud cheers. Madame Hooch was refereeing. She stood in the middle of the pitch waiting for the two teams, her broom in her hand. Now, I want a nice fair game, all of you. Oh, wait. Now, I want a nice, fair game, all of you, she said, once they were all gathered around her. Does she have that high-pitched voice? Is she more gruff? Harry noticed that she seemed to be speaking particularly to the Slytherin captain, Marcus Flint, a 6th year. Harry thought Flint looked as if he had some troll blood in him. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw the fluttering banner high above, flashing Potter for President over the crowd. His heart skipped. He felt braver. Mount your brooms, please! Harry clambered onto his Nimbus 2000. Madame Hooch gave a loud blast on her silver whistle. 15 brooms rose up, high, high into the air. They were off. And the quaffle is taken immediately by Angelina Johnson of Gryffindor. What an excellent chaser that girl is. And rather attractive, too. Jordan! Sorry, Professor. The Weasley twins' friend, Lee Jordan, was doing the commentary. Okay, Lee Jordan. Adjectives for Lee Jordan, please. If you know any, let me know it too. Was doing the commentary for the match, closely watched by Professor McGonagall. And she's really belting along up there. A neat pass to Alicia Spinnet, a good find of Oliver Woods. Last year, only a reserve. Back to Johnson, and no! Slytherin has taken the quaffle. Slytherin captain Marcus Flint gains the quaffle, and off he goes. Flint flying like an eagle up there. He's going to... No! Stopped by an excellent move by Gryffindor Keeperwood, and Gryffindor take the quaffle. That's Chaser Katie Bell of Gryffindor there. Nice dive around Flint, off up the field, and... Ouch! That must have hurt. Hit in the back of the head by a bludger. Quaffle taken by Slytherin. That's Adrian Pusey, speeding up towards the goal posts, but he's blocked by a second bludger. Sent his way by Fred or George Weasley, can't tell which. Nice play by the Gryffindor beater. Anyway, and Johnson back in possession of the quaffle. A clear field ahead, and off she goes. She's really flying. Dodges a speeding blunder. The goalposts are ahead. Come on now, Angelina. Keeper Bletchley dives. Misses. Gryffindor score! Gryffindor cheers filled the cold air with howls and moans from the Slytherins. Bludge up there. Move along. It's Hagrid. Bludge up there. Move along. Hagrid. Ron and Hermione squeezed together to give Hagrid enough space to join them. Been watching from me up, said Hagrid, patting a large pair of binoculars around his neck. But it isn't the same as being in the crowd. No sign of the snitch yet, eh? Nope, said Ron. Harry hasn't had much to do yet. Kept out of trouble, though. That's something, said Hagrid, raising his binoculars and peering skywards at the speck that was Harry. Way above them, Harry was gliding over the game, squinting about for some sign of the snitch. Yeah, he just yawned. He's a little awake now, aren't you, buddy? Yeah? Okay, Wood. Keep out of the way until you catch sight of the snitch, Wood had said. We don't want you attacked before you have to be. When Angelina had scored, Harry had done a couple of loop-the-loops to let off his feelings. Now he was back to staring around for the snitch. Once he caught sight of a flash of gold, but it was just a reflection from one of the Weasleys' wristwatches. And once a bludger decided to come pelting his way, more like a cannonball than anything. But Harry dodged it, and Fred Weasley came chasing after it. Who yelled this? All right there, Harry! He had time to yell, as he beat the bludger furiously towards Marcus Flint. Slytherin in possession, Lee Jordan was saying. Chaser Pusey ducks 2 bludgers, 2 Weasley, and Chaser Bell, and speeds toward the... Wait a moment. Was that the snitch? A murmur ran through the crowd as Adrian Pusey dropped the quaffle, too busy looking over his shoulder at the flash of gold that had passed his left ear. Harry saw it. Okay, we got 10 minutes left. In a great rush of excitement, he dived downwards after the streak of gold. Slytherin seeker Terence Higgs had seen it too. Neck and neck they hurtled towards the snitch. All the chasers seemed to have forgotten what they were supposed to be doing as they hung in midair to watch. Harry was faster than Higgs. He could see the little round ball, wings fluttering, darting up ahead. He put an extra spurt of speed. Wham! A roar of rage echoed from the Gryffindors below. Marcus Flint had blocked Harry on purpose, and Harry's broom span off course, Harry holding on for dear life. Foul! Screamed the Gryffindors. Madame Hooch spoke angrily to Flint, and then ordered a free shot at the goalposts for Gryffindor. But in all the confusion, of course, the golden snitch had disappeared from sight again. Down on the stands, Dean Thomas was yelling. I don't know Dean Thomas' voice at all. Give me adjectives for that guy too. Send him off! Refs! Red card! This isn't football, Dean. Ron, oh, there's a kid. This isn't football, Dean, Ron reminded him. You can't send people off in Quidditch. And what's a red card? But Hagrid was on Dean's side. They ought to change the rules. Flint could have knocked Harry out of the air. Lee Jordan was finding it difficult not to take sides. So, after that obvious and disgusting bit of cheating... Jordan, growled Professor McGonagall. I mean, after that open and revolting foul... Jordan, I'm warning you. All right. Flint nearly kills the Gryffindor Seeker, which could have happened to anyone, I'm sure. So a penalty to Gryffindor, taken by Spinnet, who puts it away, no trouble, and we continue play. Gryffindor still in possession. It was as Harry dodged another bludger, which went spinning dangerously past his head, that it happened. His broom gave a sudden, frightening lurch. For a split second, he thought he was going to fall. He gripped the broom tightly with both his hands and knees. He'd never felt anything like that. It happened again. It was as though the broom was trying to buck him off. But Nimbus 2000s did not suddenly decide to buck their riders off. Harry tried to turn back towards the Gryffindor goalposts. He had half a mind to ask Wood to call time out, and then realized that his broom was completely out of his control. He couldn't turn it. He couldn't direct it at all. It was zigzagging through the air, and every now and then making violent swishing movements which almost unseated him. Lee was still commentating. Slytherin in possession. Flint with a quaffle. Passes Spinnet. Passes Bell. Hit hard in the face by a bludger. Hope it broke his nose. Only joking, Professor. Slytherin score. Oh no. The Slytherins were cheering. No one seemed to have noticed that Harry's broom was behaving strangely. It was carrying him slowly higher, away from the game, jerking and twitching as it went. Dunno what Harry thinks he's doing, Hagrid mumbled. He stared through his binoculars. If I didn't know better, I'd say he'd lost control of his broom. But he can't have. Suddenly, people were pointing up at Harry all over the stands. His broom had started to roll over and over, with him only just managing to hold on. Then the whole crowd gasped. Harry's broom had given a wild jerk, and Harry swung off it. He was now dangling from it, holding on with only one hand. Did something happen to it when Flint blocked him? Seamus whispered. Can't have, Hagrid said, his voice shaking. Can't nothing interfere with a broomstick, except powerful dark magic. No kid could do that to a Nimbus 2000. At these words, Hermione seized Hagrid's binoculars, but instead of looking up at Harry, she stared, looking frantically at the crowd. What are you doing? What are you doing? Moaned Ron, grey-faced. I knew it, Hermione gasped. Snape, look! Ron grabbed the binoculars. Snape was in the middle of the stands opposite them. He had his eyes fixed on Harry and was muttering non-stop under his breath. He's doing something, jinxing the broom, said Hermione. What shall we do? Leave it to me. Oh, man. There's still so much... Oh, wait, I'm going to finish this. Before Ron could say another word, Hermione had disappeared. Ron turned the binoculars back on Harry. His broom was vibrating so hard, it was almost impossible for him to hang on much longer. The whole crowd were up on their feet, watching terrified, as the Weasleys flew up to try and pull Harry safely onto one of their brooms. But it was no good. Every time they got near him, the broom would jump higher still. They dropped lower and circled beneath him, obviously hoping to catch him if he fell. Marcus Flint seized the quaffle and scored 5 times without anyone noticing. Come on, Hermione, Ron muttered desperately. Hermione had fought her way across to the stand where Snape stood and was now racing along the row behind him. She didn't even stop to say sorry as she knocked Professor Quirrell headfirst into the row in front. Reaching Snape, she crouched down, pulled out her wand, and whispered a few well-chosen words. Bright blue flame shot from her wand onto the hem of Snape's robes. It took perhaps 30 seconds for Snape to realize that he was on fire. A sudden yelp told her she had done her job. Scooping the fire off him into a little jar in her pocket, she scrambled back along the row. Snape would never know what had happened. It was enough. Up in the air, Harry was suddenly able to clamber back on his broom. Neville, you can look, Ron said. Neville had been sobbing into Hagrid's jacket for the last 5 minutes. Harry was speeding towards the ground when the crowd saw him clap his hands to his mouth as though he was about to be sick. He hit the pitch on all fours, coughed, and something gold fell into his hands. I've caught the snitch, he shouted, waving it above his head, and the game ended in complete confusion. He didn't catch it. He nearly swallowed it. Flint was still howling 20 minutes later, but it made no difference. Harry hadn't broken any rules, and Lee Jordan was still happily shouting the result. Gryffindor had won by 170 points to 60. Harry heard none of this, though. He was being made a cup of strong tea back in Hagrid's hut with Ron and Hermione. Still a page left in this, but we're going to end there. That was fun. I almost didn't even want to stop. Very fun. Yeah, this is moving along. I love it. It's really good. Okay, time for Q&A interaction. What would you like? John, hey, your act together. Get your act together. Geez, what kind of act? What are you talking about? Get your act together, Joe. Hermione. You can't pronounce anything right. All right. Any questions you have? Anything you want to know? If not, we can end this early. All right. Don't belittle me. What do you think Snape is up to? I don't know. He's showing his legs to Flinch in private. He's disturbing Harry. For some reason, he hates Harry. I don't know why. Yeah, I have no idea. That's the mystery, I guess. Will you be doing your house quiz live? House quiz? Oh, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know how long it takes, and I don't know if it'd be that interesting to watch at the same time. You know, I don't want it to be boring. You know. Which character do I like the most? I'm liking. Actually, I like Hermione, and obviously Hagrid. He's still up there. Hermione, favorite character, as I just mentioned. Why did you start the reading? Was it because of the coronavirus? No, I didn't have anything to do, so I wanted because of the virus. But I wanted to read it, and I thought it might be entertaining. Beginning of the do you have a name for this group yet? Oh, I don't know. Somebody gave the name. What's the name of the bad guy again? Voldemort. Voth-demort. That might be fun. I'm still deciding on the name. What part of the Potterverse do you just not get still? Well, a lot of people are just randomly pulling out trolls and I don't get where the mythology of the world this all lives, because a lot of random things. Maybe she's just pulling random things together. It's fast enough to see. It's fast and would be funny to see what you picked along the way. What inspired you to read specifically Harry Potter? Because so many people have told me to read Harry Potter when I said I haven't. You can just announce your house by wearing the colors tomorrow. That's true. I could just do that. Okay. Can't you physically interpret some scenes, please? Okay, maybe I will. Good idea, Joe. Can we please name ourselves John's Potterheads? You can if you want to. Yeah, sure. John Voth and the Cursed Corona. Oh, I like that. That's a good one, Shakespeare hipster. Okay, we're in the last minute here. Don't forget to applaud those who live in Vancouver, to applaud your healthcare workers at 7 o'clock. There's a great comedy show going live at 7, The Hero Show. Find them on Instagram. Follow Mark at YOC Creations. Hello. He's here helping me out. Follow him on YOC Creations. Follow Dexter just in real life. Stalk him. And thank you so much. Thanks for taking part. I will see you all tomorrow. Same place, same time. We'll finish off some more fun reads of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. See you later, everybody.